Hello everyone in YouTube land. Red Alert here, bringing you another review video. And today I'll be talking about the new movie Spider-Man: No Way Home. And today I have a guest star with me today, Rick
Bricktastic.
Bricktastic
Zorion.
Zorion.
Hey, what's up, YouTubes? I am right here reviewing a Spider-Man No Way Home video with my good friend Red Alert. So the movie was about three Spider-Men trying to cure their villains and bring them back to their own universes. Unfortunately, it would result in their deaths in the process. But this universe, Peter, or main universe, changed his mind and decided to give everyone a second chance, the way Aunt May taught him. With great power comes great responsibility.
Thank you, Bricktastic. And before we go any further, to anyone who haven't seen the movie, I recommend stop watching this video and go see it yourself. But if you have seen it, consider yourself spoiled. Taking place where the movie left off from Far From Home, Mysterio just revealed everyone around the world that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and who was responsible for mistakenly murdering Mysterio. Spider-Man and Michelle Jones, or MJ for short, tried to adapt to their new life, being supposedly famous since Mysterio spilled the beans.
Turns out, after Mysterio revealed Peter's identity, it really screwed everything up. Peter was, I guess, put somewhere else with Aunt May and Happy. Police investigated them. They were eventually chased by some fans, some angry ones, the police, even some news choppers followed them.
Including Flash Thompson, for some reason, who thinks he's best friends with Spider-Man now.
But we kind of know Flash Thompson wasn't really the best of friends with Peter. Only Ned probably was, but Flash, definitely not. Just a pretender, if you ask me.
And to make things worse, Peter, MJ, and Ned were supposed to get scholarships to MIT, some sort of Boston university, but they were declined.
Yeah. It turns out when they were declined, it was because of Spider-Man's deeds. And so Peter decided to turn to Doctor Strange for the answers. And so.
But then it turns out Doctor Strange was no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. Thanks to Thanos, he's been blimped away for 5 years. So Wong was put in charge.
What's worse, Doctor Strange no longer had the Time Stone anymore because Thanos destroyed it after he used the gauntlet the second time on Avengers Endgame.
And Infinity War. But Doctor Strange had another device, but it won't change back time, but it will erase everyone's minds that Peter Parker was not Spider-Man.
And unfortunately, while the spell may have been broken, it brought some of the villains from the other universes into the main universe.
The first villain was no other than Dr. Otto Octavius, or Dr. Octopus, or Doc Ock for short, who mistaken him as his version of Peter Parker.
The next villain to show up was Green Goblin, otherwise known as Norman Osborn, who mistook Peter for his own Peter Parker.
Considering Doc Ock and Green Goblin were from the same universe, just different years since they were both died.
Yeah, and also, Green Goblin's son, Harry Osborn, was also killed, and so that left Norman Osborn alone. Very sad, if you ask me. And then next we have Electro and Sandman appearing at the same time.
And the black suit that we see from Spider-Man, turns out it was just a bunch of wiring. Thanks to some dude throwing green paint at him, he had to take off the cover of it.
Yeah, well, at least Spider-Man got a brand new suit to actually wear. But it didn't stay long. Because he got his brand new suit back. But he just had it repainted.
And what's funny is that Spider-Man wanted to tell Doctor Strange he wanted to forget everyone that he's Spider-Man, but he didn't mention to tell MJ or Ned about it first about it.
And so Peter really didn't want that to happen. But within doing so, he broke the spell. And then, like Doctor Strange pointed out, if you break the spell, multiple people will start coming to this universe, and I can't stop it.
And it does cause some consequences. So, I mean, if I was Peter Parker, I would tell my friends before doing it give it the okay.
Yeah. And then after, I would say if I was Peter, I would say my goodbyes, get everything back to normal, and then start over with a new leaf.
But Spider-Man has until Spider-Man got an idea about instead of killing the villains, Spider-Man has an idea of curing them, make them have a normal life. So they head to Ned's house, and they try to come up with cure, and they cured Doc Ock, made him go back to normal.
Yeah. The next to be cured was Sandman, as he, instead of turning back to sand, he went back to his human form.
But before they could eject someone else, Norman's bad side kicked in and started to convince the other villains to join him.
However, when the villains, most of them, were back to normal, it didn't work. So they were on the spider side, and Norman was left alone to try and defeat all three Spider-Men at once.
And what's worse is, down in the bottom of the apartment, J. Jonah Jameson and the news were watching this whole fight, proclaiming it was all Spider-Man's fault. And matter things worse, Green Goblin came in and killed Aunt May.
What's worse, that left Peter with no family members left, and he was all alone. And I guess after Aunt May's death, that really tore him up. And the next thing he wanted was Norman inside of a grave 6 feet under as his next solution.
And we got a reference to the one line that we haven't heard for a while. With great power comes great responsibility, from Spider-Man's Uncle Ben Parker. But apparently, we haven't seen Ben Parker in this MCU. I mean, we heard it mentioned him in the Marvel Studio series What If.
Yeah, so far Ben has only been mentioned but never seen. He is seen in the other universes like Maguire and Garfield, but never in Tom Holland's main universe.
I believe that they're trying to make it something new instead of repeating the same plot over and over.
Yeah. So I guess Sony and Marvel are trying out different things instead of good old times. Well, I guess I'll get used to it.
And when MJ and Ned tried to trying to find Peter Parker, I mean, they found Peter Parker, just not the right one. First, it was Andrew Garfield, who returned the role as Spider-Man. My mouse was dropped to see him. I mean, we haven't seen him do his performance as Spider-Man since 2014.
Yeah. Then the next Spider-Man to show up was Tobey Maguire. My jaw hit the floor when I saw both of them return into action. That was the greatest thing that ever happened.
We haven't seen Tobey Maguire since 2007 Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. But it's good to know that that both of those legendary actors have come back into the main universe, along with some of their villains.
On the rooftop, Spider-Man met the other Spider-Man, and all Peter wanted to do was to end Green Goblin once and for all. But at first, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man said he knows how he feels. He tracked down the person who killed his uncle. he thought he was the one, but it was wrong, and he killed him, but it only made him worse.
On the worst side, McGuire realized that it wasn't the one that killed his uncle, and now he made it worse, and he now deeply regrets it.
Next, Andrew uh, talks about his MJ, who was also known as Gwen Stacy, who was killed by Green Goblin. Just what I mean by Green Goblin, I mean not the Tobey Maguire's Green Goblin. I mean Andrew Garfield's Green Goblin.
Yeah, within Mary Jane's death, Andrew Garfield thought he would never forgive himself after the death of his supposed girlfriend. But then he said, I became gritty. I never held back my punches anymore. And that's what I became now.
And he said, I don't want you to be like that. And so the three Spider-Men went to their went to high school and tried to work on the antidotes to return them to normal. And we get to see a little conversation between the three actors.
Everything is all pretty chill. Tiny bit of fun when they poke at it.
My funniest scene that Tobey Maguire showed them that he didn't need any tech to make web shooters. He just showed up his organic web shooters.
Turns out Maguire has web shooters from within his body, but Garfield and Holland do not. They've built them.
And fun fact, there were plans to give Tobey Maguire give him tech web shooters, but that apparently the directors cut it out from the film.
It would have been amazing to see Maguire have some web shooters of his own, but I guess it's good to know that he's got organic shooters instead.
And so the three Spider-Men planned their attack on Lady Liberty, who apparently has a prototype of Captain America's shield, because I was so confused. Why did they have it there?
But then again, Steve Rogers is out of commission from Captain America and is an old man now. And I guess Falcon, as well as Bucky, took over the role of Captain America for now.
We don't know what happened to John Walker, also known as U.S. Agent.
We're going to bet that U.S. Agent is doing his own stuff, but he's not going to be affiliated with Captain America anymore, since he already abused that in Winter Soldier by killing someone with his shield in front of everyone to make it even worse.
We're hoping to see it in a future series or film. Anyway, we're getting off topic. So before the battle, they were talking. They were still having a conversation, and Tobey Maguire said he feels a little stiff after all the swinging.
And so Garfield has a solution and decides to crack his back for him. Whenever Garfield performed the trick, it actually worked, and it made Maguire feel much better.
And Tobey Maguire also mentioned Venom. Well, his version of Venom, not Tom Hardy's Venom.
Yeah, because within mention, it turns out that Venom was bonded with Eddie Brock, or Maguire's Eddie Brock, and he was going to use a goblin bomb to get rid of Venom for good. Unfortunately, Eddie stepped in the way and got both him and Venom killed.
Tom Holland, Spider-Man, mentioned he fought an alien who was not actually black but also purple, which, by the way, was Thanos, in case no one hasn't noticed.
The Mad Titan, or should I say, the Dead Titan, since he's gone now. His past self was vanished and no longer exists anymore.
They talked. Andrew Garfield feel a little jealous because he had fought a lizard, a German criminal who in a rhino armor bodysuit.
Turns out Garfield fought Lizard and Rhino. Maguire fought his way through Goblin and Doc Ock, but Holland fought his way through Mysterio and Vulture,
And basically Thanos' entire army.
as well as many Marvel heroes, the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, even Thor's Asgardian army. Well, some of them.
And after the conversation was over, the battle began, and then things weren't going so well. So Tom Allen tried to pep talk the other two Spider-Man, and they were confused on which Spider-Man was who.
So Holland came up with a solution and said he was Peter 1, Maguire was number 2, Garfield would be number 3, to make it more easy to recognize.
Or if it made much sense, Toby was number 1, Andrew was number 2, and Tom was number 3. That way it would make total sense.
Yeah. At first, when they were going to fight the villains, they all decided to grab each device to cure the specific villain.
And Tom Holland's Spider-Man mentioned the Avengers, and it turns out Toby and Andrew never heard of the Avengers because they didn't exist in their universe.
They thought the Avengers was some kind of band, but in Tom's universe, it wasn't a band. It was a military group for people to join.
So after the pet talk, they began their battle. First, it was a Sandman, and Toby was about to drown, and then Andrew saved Toby and injected Sandman with the antidote, and he returned back to normal.
Within doing so, Flint Marko lost his sand powers, but at least he was normal back to his human self once again.
Next, it was Electro. Andrew was having a hard time fighting him until all of a sudden a Doc Ock appeared, and we never thought Doc Ock was turning back to evil after being cured. But then turns out he was helping them and pretending.
Which bought the Spider-Man enough time to throw the device onto Electro and cure him of his evil stasis powers.
Next, it was the Lizard, who was about to kill Ned and MJ, and Ned was alright, but then MJ fell off the building, and Peter Parker was trying to reach him until he was stopped by a Green Goblin. But then Andrew saw MJ and for a moment he had vision of his dead girlfriend Gwen Stacy, and he was like, "No, not this time. I won't let it happen again."
So Garfield took the chance and saved MJ from her apparent death. After that, he went on to assist Maguire and Holland with the other villains to take care of.
Talk about true redemption. After many years, Andrew Garfield got the redemption he deserved. He may have failed to save Gwen Stacy, but he did manage to save Michelle Jones.
He may have been a gritty Spider-Man at first, but finally, after all these hardships, all these betrayals, after years of torture and harsh lives going through, he finally got his redemption he rightfully deserved after all these years.
And after Tom Holland cured Lizard, Doctor Strange returned ready to use the spell, but then Doctor Strange see that Peter's plan was working.
Doctor Strange originally wanted to confront Peter and scold him for leaving him behind in the mirror realm, but when he saw the villains were getting cured, and all the villains except Goblin, he was mighty impressed, and he said, "Well, I'll be damned," and decided to help out Peter after all.
And after the battle, we get to see Tobey Maguire and Dr. Octopus reunited, and after seeing Tobey Maguire is all grown up and Doc got cured, they had a happy moment.
However, the moment wouldn't last forever, as Tom Holland had a bit of trouble with Green Goblin, trying to destroy his glider with one of his own pumpkin bombs inside of the glider.
Uh, Spider-Man disabled Green Goblin's flight tech, but also brought most of the Lady Liberty down with all of them, and then Green Goblin destroyed the magical box, which brought every villain from every universe almost into their universe. Doctor Strange tried to hold them off while Spider-Man fights Green Goblin.
Green Goblin and Tom Holland's Spider-Man were fighting on the broken Captain America shield in part of the water. Tom Holland was about to strike down Green Goblin for good, but Maguire stepped in the way and silently told him don't do it.
And 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 that whole fight, seeing Tom Allen beat the crap out of Green Goblin, was intense. I mean, we never seen him this violent at all. It almost like seeing Optimus Prime beating the crap out of Megatron with no regrets at all. And I was surprised to see that Peter Parker was about to kill Green Goblin with his own glider. Such a reference to the 2002 Tobey Maguire movie. Thankfully, Tobey Maguire stopped him.
Unfortunately, while Tobey Maguire bought Norman Osborn enough time, it resulted in him getting stabbed in the back by him moments later.
But don't worry, he survived. He said he'd been stabbed a couple of times.
Yeah, so Tom Holland went to deal with Doctor Strange while Garfield attended to Tobey Maguire's wounds to see if he could patch him up and get him standing.
And Green Goblin was pulling the strings on Peter that he was responsible for her aunt's death, and it looked like Andrew threw a knife at Peter and about to stab him, but instead it was the cure for him.
And so, as Norman Osborn was cured, his evil goblin side was forever gone, and he was back to his normal self once again.
And so the battle was over, but it was far from over, since Doctor Strange couldn't fight all the other universes at once. So Peter had no choice but to accept that everyone will have to forget about him as Spider-Man, including MJ, Ned, even Happy.
The worst part is that once the spell was finished, time would not be reversed because, like Strange said, he no longer has the Time Stone. So, unfortunately, Aunt May remains permanently dead at that point. What's worse, Peter has no more family members left, and now he's on his own in the real world.
Couple of months passed, and it was Christmas, apparently, because there were some Christmas decorations in that coffee shop when Peter tried to tell Michelle and Ned that he was Spider-Man, but he didn't. He thought he could turn on a new leaf from now on.
So instead of telling MJ and Ned who he really was, he decided to rent out MJ's old apartment where he used to live at. And then he decided to get himself a brand new costume since his other one was gone for some reason.
And we couldn't get a good look at his suit because there was a lot of movement, but it looked like it was homemade, and it had like the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire look on it.
We're thinking that Spider-Man or Tom Holland used all three designs and decided maybe combining them into one would be a brand new outfit for him.
And since he made the new suit, I guess he was no longer partnership with Stark Industries, since thanks to Mysterio that he used the drones.
So with no one at Peter's side except for Happy Hogan, who doesn't even know him, at the least. He is now on his own, fighting crime, trying to save as people as he can, like the other Spider-Man before him.
And and that was basically it for the movie until the credits came in. And guess what? We had a special guest of Tom Hardy who was at some sort of Hawaiian bar telling to this guy who tell him about him.
However, the bartender was not really too pleased with Eddie Brock, probably because he doesn't pay up, I guess. But then again, life has its ups and downs.
And as soon as Eddie and Venom were about to leave and meet Spider-Man in New York, this being thanks to Doctor Strange sent him back to his universe.
Then after that, the bartender was angry that Eddie never paid before he left.
And as we thought we could never see Tom Hardy finally meet Spider-Man, that last scene was a puddle of black goo on the table.
It turns out Venom left a piece of himself in that universe, and so we're thinking, as it moved away, it was going to find Peter on its own without Tom Hardy.
So me, Red Alert, and Bricktastic were thinking, will there be a future film in the future, maybe about Spider-Man meeting Venom for the first time? But we don't know how the story will go. Maybe about Spider-Man meeting a Black Cat or Venom. We don't know yet.
But or maybe if he ever meets Kraven the Hunter for the first time. But we'll have to see what happens in the near future.
And Red Alert, were thinking, if there are planning to making another crossover, my wish is that they cross over with the Spider-Verse gang from Spider-Verse and Josh Keaton Spider-Man from the Spectacular Spider-Man series, and Bricktastic said he want the Ultimate Spider-Man to be in this future movie as well.
Maybe even throw some of the other Spider-Man in, like Miguel O'Hara, 2099. That's who he is. Spider-Ham, Spider-Woman, Silk, Noir, Penny, Scarlet. Let's see.
Madam Spider.
Yeah. Six-armed Peter Parker, Flash Thompson as Spider-Man, and many more.
And that's basically it. So don't forget to like my channel and like Bricktastic's channel as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that fun stuff. And follow me on YouTube, same as Bricktastics. Anything else you'd like to say, Bricktastic?
Yeah. Sometimes I make Lego ugly Starfighter ships on my channel. I might do some other stuff if I ever get back to my house, but whenever I go back there, I'll review the rest of my ships, and then maybe review some minifigs as well after that. But we'll have to see what happens. Anyway, this is Bricktastic Zorion, signing out.
And this is Red Alert here. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on YouTube. And happy Merry Christmas to everyone. Bye.
Happy holidays.
Bye.